hello everyone. Welcome. This is Africa's Young Entrepreneurs Clubhouse, and we are in our weekly assembly. Welcome on stage the president and founder of Africa's Young Entrepreneurs, the largest entrepreneurship organization in Africa, Dr. Shumi Smart Francis.
Thank you so much, Miriam. Thank you so much. I'm pretty much just as excited as every African entrepreneur in this room. I've gotten 3 powerhouses in the room tonight. We're talking about the world being a marketplace. The marketplace is a pretty noisy place. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot of distractions. There's just a lot of chaos, especially with the African market. Let's look at the traditional definition of a market. And in that market, some people come to buy, some came to sell, some came to steal, some came to fight, some came to make a lot of noise, some came to destroy, and that's what the world is about. But in the middle of those chaos, some people are making profit, some people are focused, some people are making things happen for themselves, while others are going with the noise of the market. You have to sell something, whether you like it or not. You're either buying something or selling something. In your marriage, in your relationship, in your spiritual life, at work, in your office, with your customers, your consumers, your client, you're buying and you're selling. Have you been buying the right product is the question. Have you been selling the right product? How have you been selling? What have you been selling? Are you selling it the right way? One of the most beautiful things I like about our guest speakers is the fact that they are experts in their fields. They've gotten into the business. They've gotten the experience. They've gotten into the field. People in different fields, that have encountered the market, diagnosed the market, analyzed the market, experienced the market, and have provided solutions that can help entrepreneurs across the world to be able to excel in the market. African entrepreneurs, without wasting much of our time. I would like to first introduce our first guest speaker. And I just want to share a little bit about her profile, which gets me excited as well. Her name is Anita Boktot, and she's a founder, author, potential expert, a facilitator, a coach, and an authentic achiever. Take note of that word, guys. Authentic achievers. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Anita Boktot.
Hi everyone, it's lovely to be in here. As you heard, my background is in my MSc in career management and coaching. I do believe that the world is a marketplace, and that marketplace got a space for everyone. But the key is you need to bring something unique to it. So you need to show your authentic self. Then you're bringing something new to it. You don't want to be another copy of someone who did A or B or C. The world needs new talents, new potential, and I believe that everyone has it. And we are not fully connected because we've been impacted by our difficult childhood. People, teachers. We have that mindset that we should be this, or we will be this. But ask yourself now who you really want to be, because there is a space for you to be who you really want to be, and you do have those skills for that. So what is stopping you from achieving that? You need to focus first on what do you really have inside you, what you're really good at, if you don't know, how we can find it. And then this way, wherever your purpose is, or your goal, or your dream, it would be easier for you to achieve that. If you're just going and copying your colleague because he is good with IT, I've tried IT, or if someone else does, I don't know, some jewelry doing, so I will do it that as well, and then we're hopping from idea to idea, it will be difficult for us to success.
Yeah, thank you very much, Annette. You said something so profound, and I'm sure every one of us heard. There's a space for you in the marketplace. That's so powerful, because I've noticed something. I was using the African market as a case study, and what I've noticed in the market is that the market is never full. Like, I don't know how many of you have noticed that. So let's remember that there's always space in the market for you. So you have to decide on what you're bringing into the market. Yes, I'm going to go right now to introduce the next speaker. His name is Peter Cohen. Pete is a leading inspirational speaker and coach specialized in leadership, maximizing human potential and performance. He firmly believes that when people are inspired, they are much likely to give and be more.
Mr. President, thank you so much. I'm very honored to be in this room, and I bet some of you are probably wondering why I have a golden duck on my head, which I'm more than happy to share with you. My background actually is in sports psychology. I was the sports psychologist to the Arsenal football team for 2 years. I've worked with many world and Olympic champions in sport. I'm obsessed by what does it take for someone to be their best? You know, what has to happen in order for someone to outperform themselves? Let me just explain. The reason I have a duck on my head is the duck for me represents the part of us that I think is in most people, maybe all people, a part of us that wants us to stay where we are, a part of us that doesn't want to stand out, a part of us that doesn't want to get hurt, doesn't want to look silly. And I think most of us have that, and it quacks away in our head. But I also believe that there is another part of us that the Romans called the genius. And the genius is the part of us that is what some people would call the moral authority, the part of us that wants us to get up, do the right thing, and make things happen. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, that word, if you look at what it means in the dictionary, it means someone who, or some people who want to take a risk in the pursuit of profit. But the word entrepreneur has a much deeper meaning. It comes from an Indian Sanskrit word, which actually means, in its translation, a burning desire to do something, to make a difference. And I don't know if you agree with me, but I think deep down everyone has a burning desire to grow and to contribute and to make a difference. And it's up to us as mentors, teachers, trainers, coaches, wherever possible, to help young people discover what is it that they do that makes them come alive, that makes them want to do more and wake up every single day to be inspired to make things happen. And in terms of Africa, I grew up in London, and I grew up around a lot of people from Ghana, a lot of people from Nigeria, a lot of people from Uganda, and a lot of South Africans. And prior to COVID, I spent a lot of time in South Africa. We have a coffee business, and it's amazing. I didn't realize just how lucky I was or how fortunate I was until I spent enough time in South Africa to realize in places like Pietermaritzburg and Kalicha in Cape Town, just to realize how so many people live and how fortunate that I am for the life that I have. And while I have this fortune in my life, I believe it's my moral duty to be a good human being and to help and serve as many people as possible. And I just want to just share something very quickly with you. You know, the world is a marketplace. Well, for me, the world is a marketplace where wherever we can add value to people, we should be looking to add value. You know, I think that the biggest opportunity in the world right now is leadership, is that we can take the lead and we can be an example to everybody. And Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in this world, which is kind of what Annetta was talking about as well, to know who you want to be. And then as Dr. Martin Luther King said, who was massively inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, said, the most important question that we should be asking each other is, what can I do for you? So I would say to everyone in this room, what can I do for you? And if I can't do it for you, what you need, maybe I know someone who can.
Wow. Your closing statement, simple, short, but very extremely powerful. What can I do for you? You know, there's a connection between Pete and Anetta's conversation. Anetta said it's a space in the marketplace, and Pete did something so powerful. He showed us one of the most vacant seats in the marketplace that many of us are not even aware about. We know about it, but we are not cautious of the fact that that seat is actually empty. He said the biggest opportunity in the marketplace is leadership. You know, that's amazing. And it's so interesting to hear that, especially from the African continent. And African young entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs in this room today, you can hear for yourself that leadership is a big space that is open for every and any one of you who is ready to occupy that. So when you're getting into the market space and you don't know what to do in the marketplace in the world, one of the first space and seats you should look for is the leadership place, a place where you can make a difference, a place where you can make a change. I'm going to introduce to you our last invited guest, and I'm so really excited about him because Paul specializes in on-stage and crisis negotiations. Guys, by the way, is Canada's most highly recognized on-stage negotiator. He's an international peacekeeping expert. He's an admired international keynote speaker and lecturer, specializing in how successfully to negotiate in business and in life. So, Paul, if you don't mind, as you're introducing yourself, please share with us one of the biggest risks you ever took? Because a risk in your field is very risky, extremely risky. Any mistake, it's not like in business, which we'll be talking about tonight. You can do a business risk, you can negotiate wrong or right. When you lose, of course, it's loss and profit sometimes. But with you, when you lose, it might only be losing the person's life.
Dr. Sumi, I want to thank you so much for having me here. It's such a privilege to be here. To answer your question, life is a big negotiation. I first want to start out by talking a little bit about what is a negotiation. In its simplest form, in its simplest terms, the way that we look at a negotiation is this. It's simply an exchange between two or more people to reach an agreement. That's it. Let's not complicate what a negotiation is. It's when two or more people get together to talk about reaching an agreement on something. We negotiate in everything that we do. Every day we are negotiating. Every day we are asking. We negotiate with our kids about bedtime. We negotiate perhaps with the florist down the street. Whatever. Life is a big negotiation and a great opportunity. And so, because we have such exposure to negotiation, why is it that some people find it difficult or that some people just don't do it? It comes down to what I call the 3 F's. And here are the 3 F's of why negotiations don't happen. Number 1, fear. Some people fear. They fear being told no. For anyone here who fears the word no, I say to you, it's time to change that mindset. Every negotiation begins with no. And you always will miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Now, that quote comes from a famous hockey player in Canada. He said this: we always miss 100% of the shots we don't take. So if fear is something that's holding you back, it's all right. You can, as I said earlier, you can stand up to your fear and you can work with your fear and you can get beyond your fear. So that's number 1. That's the first F. The second one is forgetfulness. Sometimes we don't think of asking for an opportunity or asking for a break. Have you ever been in a shop and you have picked something up that you wanted to purchase and you've gone to the counter and you've asked for maybe a little bit of a break on the price? You ever thought of doing that? Why don't you? There's a way of doing it. When people know you, like you, and trust you, they'll give you things. They will help you. They will work with you. That's all about rapport building, which I'll get into in just a moment. So fear holds us back. Forgetting to negotiate or to ask for things that we want in life holds us back. And the third F is familiarity, knowing how to ask. How do we ask for a job? How do we ask for a contract? How do we ask for anything? Ask for a date. How do we ask for that? So we'll get into that in just a moment. So those are the 3 F's that hold us back from actually negotiating and asking for what we want in life. Now, the first person that we negotiate with, or that we must negotiate with, who do you think that might be? The first person we must negotiate with is us, ourselves. We have to prepare our mind. We have to set our mind. Our mindset must be focused on our best selves. We have to negotiate with us before we negotiate with anyone else. That's your first negotiatee. I call them negotiatees. So the first person you must negotiate with is you. Now, as Sumi referred to, I came up with this formula, this principle on how to negotiate for what you want in life and in business. And it's so easy, folks. It's called peer negotiating, P-I. And there is a pie in this peer. And we're going to talk about the pie, then we're going to talk about the peer. So imagine you standing on a pier overlooking a vast amount of water. There's so much possibility out there. You want to reach someplace. How do I get from this pier to where I want to go? Well, it's peer negotiating. That's how you do it. The first peer is in planning. Plan. We know that if we don't plan, our chances of achieving what we want are lessened. So we must plan in everything. While I talk about peer negotiating, I'm also going to talk about dating, because if I can relate it to something that we're all familiar with, then it might be easier for you to apply it in your business and life negotiations as well. So let's say that you're going to plan for a date. You ask someone out. Well, first thing you're going to do is probably decide where you're going to meet and how you're going to dress. You might do a little bit of research into who the person is you're meeting. You know, today we can go to the internet and we can type in a person's name and we can find out all kinds of things. Imagine yourself in the business world now. You're planning. So you're going to plan on where to meet. You're going to plan on how to dress. You're going to plan on your conversation. You're going to do some research on who it is that you're going to be speaking with, what it is that they may want from you. You're going to ask yourself what you're prepared to give and what you're prepared not to give. And here's something else that I really encourage each and every one of you to do in the planning phase. It's called role playing. Role playing. I love role playing. As a hostage negotiator, we didn't get an opportunity to know what negotiations we were going into. It's not like a hostage taker would call us a week before taking hostages and would say, hey, next week I'm going to be taking some hostages, and here's the situation. I'm going to be in a small store, a variety store, and I'm going to be robbing it, but somehow I'm going to get locked in and I'm going to need to take hostages. So I just want to let you know. No, that doesn't happen. So what does happen is that we would get together regularly and we would practice and role play for any negotiation. You, as a business leader, as a business negotiator, might want to consider, before you meet that person for that negotiation, to get together with someone. So I would call you up, Sumi, and I would say, hey, Sumi, I've got a big negotiation coming up in 2 days, and it's with XYZ, and I'm sure they're going to ask me some tough questions. Can we get together, or can we talk over the phone, and can we go through it? I want you to play my negotiatee and ask me some tough questions, and I will prepare and I will get ready, and let's just go back and forth, and then we can change it up. So planning and preparation and role playing is so important. The planning phase, that's the P in peer. The I in peer is for intent. What is your intent? If your intent is solely focused on you and what you want, you're going to lose. You're not going to succeed. Let's go back to dating. I've asked a woman out for a date. Planned where I was going to meet her. I dressed for the occasion, but I get there and my intent is only on me. And this is what I say. Hey, good looking. You know what? I'm everything that you're looking for. You don't have to look any further. I'm what you want. So let's get together and don't bother looking any further. If I were to say that, do you think I would be successful in having a second date? No, I wouldn't, because my intent was solely focused on me. What I need to do in my intention phase is do 20% of the talking, and most of the talking would be in asking questions. I want to find out more about you. Let's go back to business. I want to find out if you and I are a good fit, if what I have to offer is a good fit for you. Is what I have to offer, does that answer what your pain points are? Can I solve your pain points? Let's go back into the dating. I'm going to ask questions. What are your interests? What do you like? What are you looking for? It's the same. Business and dating and everything else, it's the same. Let's be curious. Let's do what's called exploratory dialogue. Going back into the business room, going back into the negotiations room, I'm going to ask, what is it that you're looking for, and how can I help? What is it that you want to achieve? All these wonderful questions. And in doing so, we are also conveying to our negotiatee, to the person we're negotiating with, a genuine interest in solving what it is they're looking to solve. So intent must be focused on the person that you're looking to connect with, and then later, as that bond builds, as that trust builds, the intent will go back on you. You'll begin to share it. I'm going to take you into a negotiation now with a hostage taker. I'm the hostage negotiator. I'm asking these questions. How did this happen? What are you looking for? How can I help? And this is what we're trying to do. What is it that you fear the most? And most hostage takers will say this: I'm afraid that when I step out of this room, I'm going to get killed by one of your snipers. Let's go back into the business room, because I'm bouncing you all over the place here. How do you apply that when you're talking to your potential client? What is it that you're afraid of? What is it that you're concerned about? I sense that there's something that's on your mind. Let's talk about that. So really put your intent focused on your client. The E in peer, which creates this pie, P-I-E, the E is about your first entrance, how you present yourself in the first few moments that you meet somebody. We all know that we leave an impression in less than 2 seconds. I think it's a few milliseconds, they say. That first impression, do you have a warm, sincere smile? Like, are you open? How are you dressed? All this. So your entrance is so important. And the other part of the E is the engagement, keeping people engaged and interested and getting them to open up and to share and to be vulnerable so that we can find out how we can help them get what they want. So if we bake that pie, if we create that pie, what happens is there's an R that develops. This is what completes the peer. The R is in the relationship. When someone knows you, likes you, and trusts you, they are willing to work with you, and you can ask for what you want. Remember a little bit earlier on, I said that one of the things that we forget to do perhaps is when we're in a shop and we're looking for something, and maybe we grab a pair of shoes, we go and we pay the full price. What if we were going to walk into that shop, privately owned shop, talk to the owner, maybe, build a little bit of rapport, be genuinely interested. Hey, how long have you been here? I love your shop. I've been here a few times, and just find out a little bit about that person. Then you go around, you shop, and you look around, and you were very pleasant with that person. You connected with that person. You showed genuine interest. You built a little bit of a relationship, which can be done very, very quickly. So when you go to pay for that, you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to ask for a little bit of a break. And so you go up to the owner and you say, hey, I really like it, and so thank you very much. This has been a great meeting you and all. Hey, is there any way that I could get a little bit of a break on it? Believe it or not, that works. That worked for me about 7 out of 10 times. I've saved hundreds and hundreds of dollars just by trying that. So peer is a simple formula to negotiate in life and in business. It is so important. You have to know your value. You have to know what you want, what you cannot accept. You have to be prepared to leave when the negotiation isn't going to be going in your favor. You've got to be ready, but you've got to be confident. So negotiate with yourself first. Get rid of those self-sabotaging thoughts. Life is full of choices, folks. I love the word choice. C-H-O-I-C-E. We get to choose our thoughts, our beliefs, our approaches, and how we treat other people.
Thank you so much, Paul. What Paul said that stood out and so profound: every negotiation begins with a no. A lot of us African entrepreneurs, we are too scared. We are too scared of that no, from that investor, from that partner, from that customer, from that client. You are too scared of that no. And guys, you've heard it all. You've heard how to address and approach your fear. If you know the beginning of every negotiation, it's a no. So what else are you waiting for? From that peer formula, I love the E. Oh my God. The entrance and the engagement, extremely powerful. That now gives you the R as a reward. So the R also comes as a reward, not just the relationship. But then, looking at that E, entrance and engagement, I can tell you I'm a living testimony to this. Silence is a great tool for any skilled negotiator. Everybody knows that. With silence, you get to listen to the pulse of the opponent. You get to listen to the pulse of the other side, and then you can then have a strategic platform to respond while feeling the pulse. Now, my question to you is, from your expertise as a behavior expert, this is not something human behavior do. We don't tend to keep silent a lot. We want to talk back. We want to respond. We want to be so quick to respond in things. And in business, this is affecting a lot of entrepreneurs. We don't know how to observe the market, to observe the pulse of the market, the pulse of the customer, the pulse of the consumer, the pulse of the client, and then being able to use that pulse to respond and negotiate what we want for that business or for that transaction. Pete, please share with us, what have we been missing, or what have we been losing by not using the skill of silence? Thank you.
Well, first off, thank you for the question. Of all the problems in the world, just imagine if we all thought, well, all of the problems, they're my problem as much as they're your problems. Let's find a solution. And what I find really interesting is that when you look at the world through someone else's eyes, you might realize that there is a different way to look at things in the way that you currently do. And Sami, it's a massive question that you ask. It's a huge question. But silence is a real challenge for a lot of people because we live in a world where there's so much noise. The man who won the Nobel Prize in 1972 basically won it because he was talking about the biggest problem in the world is too much information. And that was 1972. There's so much information that is pulling on our attention. And that's the challenge. One of the greatest qualities of a human being is his attention, to focus, to listen. And again, just going back to the duck on my head, it's not that everyone has a duck on their head or in their head, but we all have, or I believe at least most people have, this interference. And this is why the practice of mindfulness has been talked about for thousands of years, because people realized thousands of years ago the nature of the mind. In Buddhism, they call it dukkha. In Hinduism, they call it maya, which is the fact that our brains can be quite delusional and can play tricks on us. That's what my coach, I worked with someone for 16 years of my life. He was from the Philippines. He traveled the world. He lived with, he worked for World Hunger. He lived with indigenous people around the world. And he shared with me so many things. I traveled the world with him. And one day he said to me, Pete, what is the nature of the human mind? And I gave him an answer based on my study of psychology. And he laughed at me. He just said, listen, the nature of the mind is the mind plays tricks on you. You try to go to sleep at night, your mind, if you're lucky, you're one of those people who can lie down and go to sleep. But most people, they start thinking when they don't want to think. You know, you're walking down the street, you think someone is following you. The natural state of human beings is survival. And the survival mechanism in the brain means that we'll be looking out for people who might be playing a trick on us so that we can play a trick on them to survive. But most of us are playing tricks on ourselves all the time. And it's only when you can step back from your thoughts, you can realize the experience of being a human being. And you can hear the silence. And that to me is freedom, actually. That's freedom for most of us, is freedom to think, freedom to feel, freedom to observe. But that takes practice. It's one of the things I don't think most people will ever master, but we can get better at it. Wow, just imagine if we all became better negotiators. But that skill was practiced by ourselves, where we can negotiate with ourselves to get ourselves to do what we need to do, even when we don't feel like it. Because there is a disease in the world right now, and it's called being comfortable. So that when you're comfortable, you don't have that necessity to act and move forward. One of the biggest challenges that all human beings will experience in their life is learning how to think greater than you feel. What do you think is the difference that makes the difference between people that succeed and the ones who don't? The ones who succeed, I'm sure you know, they are the ones who they don't relate to how they feel. They relate to what needs to be done. There's so many people making so much noise in the world right now. You heard this from Annetta, you heard this from Paul, and you heard this from myself. It's so important to know who you are, what you stand for, right? And to remember that every single day.